It is 11:42 Eastern Standard Time, right after the Lions Rams game, which was absolutely electric. The Rams quite literally rolled out the P squad O-line because every single person on their team got hurt, and they were so close to getting it done.
Yeah, they were down to like their third string left tackle, and Aiden Hutchinson was pretty much walking to Matt Stafford every single play, and somehow they were in this game until overtime and didn't even get a shot in OT, which we saw.
Unfortunately, they made such a big stink about the overtime rules, and like they still suck. But anyway, to be
fair, if you get dominated that badly in that drive, you don't deserve the football.
Yeah, no, that's true, and that's how it should be regardless. But the one takeaway that I have is Matt Stafford, who we have some people who are in my mentions all the time about me talking shit on, not Matt Stafford, Jared Goff, about me talking shit on Jared Goff all the time. Jared Goff quite literally almost lost them that game, and they reeled it back in completely because of how dominant they are in the run. And they broke out David Montgomery at maybe the most perfect time of the entire game.
Dude, that game just felt like there was so many opportunities for the Lions to just like take control and like blow it wide open, and they just never did. They just like weren't throwing the football, which was really weird.
I don't think that they, not that they can. I mean, they completely eliminated Amon-Ra St. Brown. He was a no-show tonight, which was crazy. Tre'Davious White, who he should just go to the retirement home now. He got absolutely torched by Jameson Williams. But other than that, like, it just felt like they didn't trust Jared Goff in like that situation. At least that's kind of that's what I took away from it. Like right away, it was just like in the big moments when it mattered most, Jared Goff kept making mistakes. One, he threw a bad pick. And then the one play across the middle when St. Brown was on a slant, maybe the most high IQ play of the entire day, he knocked down the pass. If he didn't knock down that pass, that would have been a second pick.
Yeah. Yeah, it was. To be fair, though, the strength of that Lions team is their offensive line, and high IQ would tell you, let's lean on them. Let's give it to our workhorse. Let's just go down here and take care of business. Let's eliminate possibility for turning the football over and just hand it off to Montgomery and Gibbs. Put it in their hands, and it's
completely fair. But you just I was just bouncing off your point where you're like, it just feel like they couldn't throw. That was big that was one of my big takeaways, like from doing the offseason stuff. It was just like, can Jared Goff do it? It felt like in a situation like that, they didn't really feel comfortable, obviously, getting Jared Goff. Use the strength of the offensive line, use our dual-headed monster at running back, and like if we absolutely have to throw, then we'll do it. But if not, let's not even think about it. Which they literally didn't.
There's going to be more situations this season where they're going to need Jared Goff to make a play, and who knows what's going to happen. But it'll be fun to watch.
Bro, real quick, I don't know if you have any other takeaways from that game, but one thing that I absolutely have to talk about was 21 targets, 14 receptions, 110 yards, and a touchdown. Puka Nacua obviously went down with a knee. Hopefully he's okay, but I mean, Cooper Kupp is 100% back, and that was crazy to watch.
That was a vintage Cooper Kupp game right there.
It was awesome. It was so awesome.
It just felt like he was getting open the entire game, and we saw him. The one play on the left sideline, I believe it was, when he cooked Terrion Arnold, and it was just like a welcome to the league moment for the rookie. Like, he did a pretty good job this game, but there's just some plays where you just don't stand a chance, and
it was the match. That was the matchup all day. As soon as Cooper Kupp sent a motion, get Terrion Arnold on him, and Cooper Kupp was absolutely cooking him. That entire game was a welcome to the league moment for Terrion Arnold. He was getting picked out every single time when they would send somebody in motion. So it was, and it was awesome.
That's the coaching advantage that McVay has versus Dan Campbell. And I forget the Lions defensive coordinator, but there's also only so much you can do when they're just it's basically like when LeBron just tries to get Tyler Hero to cover him, and
Yeah.
it's just barbecue chicken all like every play.
Andrew said something. I just watched the game with Andrew in Discord, and he was like, if this was any other coach other than McVay, this team would be getting like absolutely torched right now. But like
Correct.
he kept them in that, and it was like great. That was such an awesome game. Obviously, getting OT was great. OT was a little underwhelming, but that was an amazing game. Like it was awesome.
Yeah, I completely agree with Andrew. How many other teams would have been able to win it, at least come down to the wire in a situation like that against one of the top teams in the NFC while they're dealing with their third string left tackle and Aiden Hutchinson's lining up across the line from you? I can't really say there's many other guys that would have put their team in a better situation than McVay did.
Yeah, and another thing about the Rams too, real quick, and we can obviously talk about other games, but whatever you have to take away if you can. I pinpointed like that something that I thought would be like a really big highlight was like their defense, and I felt like their defense was sneaky at times, but they clearly have a big deficiency in secondary. Their front seven got absolutely pushed around tonight, and it wasn't even really anything to talk about. And I think that was even though they kept them in the game at times and made plays, you could tell that was a clear weakness for this Rams team.
Yeah, like I said, if the Lions had so many opportunities to like really take advantage of this football game, and I feel like if they would have just more so leaned on that run and just wore down that Rams defensive line, this wouldn't have even gone to overtime.
You're probably right. But Matt Stafford,
think the Rams still battled their ass off. And I think if you're a Rams fan, like you stood toe to toe with one of the best teams in the NFC. And I think even though you lost, like you still got to feel pretty good about where you're at right now. Because the defense was a concern. And we obviously saw them get pushed around in OT, but like how many other teams are going to be able to just push them around like that?
I'm worried if I'm a Rams fan, bro.
You're not, man.
They just lost O-line. They just lost Puka. They just lost Puka.
Do we have a full diagnosis on him?
But right now, like immediate reaction after the game, you lost Puka, you lost guys on defense, you lost your entire offensive line. Like if these guys miss multiple weeks, or if anybody misses an extended period of time, like I feel like I'm in a bad spot right now if I'm the Rams.
I think if you have Puka there and you aren't dealing with your third string left tackle, I think you feel okay. But obviously, if those guys are out extended periods of time,
Tyler Johnson,
different story.
Tyler Johnson's sneaky, dude. I'm just kidding.
Dude, that was rough. I mean, I was watching Aiden Hutchinson pretty much every play, and it was one move and by him.
Yeah, and it was rough.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else you want to talk about this game, or are you good? Other than like literally Matt Stafford was on an absolute fucking heat check the whole
Yeah, he was. I mean, I can't think of a better way to start off the NFL season for Sunday Night Football. That was a great game.
Yeah, honestly, both primetime games this week. The Thursday night, the Friday night game was a little weird. We'll get into that obviously, and with the Eagles, and then this Monday night or Sunday night game was amazing, and we get a good Monday night game tomorrow. So, do you want to go into the 4:00 games?
Yeah, we can.
Do you have any takeaway? First takeaway that I want to take away from the 4:00 games: Deshaun Watson does not have it. He's done.
Bad.
He's not good. He is a shell of himself. I don't know what's wrong with him. I think that there's a real possibility that he got paid and just doesn't care. I think that that's a real opportunity, like a real option at this point, because it was always like, well, he's dealing with off the field stuff. He's doing this, he's doing that. Like, I know his pops just passed away, and like maybe he's dealing with that as well. But we haven't seen him have a good season since 2020. That's 4 seasons ago. I was like, this was like the season where I'm like, okay, like I'll see, like, let's give Deshaun Watson one more chance. And if not, like, I'm out on him. After week 1, man, I don't know. I think I'm out. He's bad.
Dude, there wasn't anything that I saw today that made me say, okay, there might be something there.
Yeah.
He was just not giving he just wasn't even giving his guys a chance. And you could tell that offensive line was getting frustrated. I know they were down their left and right tackle as well, I think. But if you have that defense out on the field as often as they did, that defense is going to be really good. I think they'll be fine, but it's got to be frustrating for them, man. That offense just looked really bad. And I don't know if it's going to get any better if Deshaun Watson's playing quarterback for them.
And one thing that sticks out to me too is like this offense isn't bad. They have a good defense, obviously. We talked about that. They have a good offensive line. They have Jerry Jeudy, they have Amari Cooper, and they have Elijah Moore and David Njoku. Like that's a pretty solid like core for pass catchers. And then like obviously you have Jerome Ford right now, and he's decent. Like he's not the best, but still like running back supplemental. I just feel like there's absolutely zero excuse for Deshaun Watson. Like they went out, traded for Amari Cooper. They went, traded for Jerry Jeudy, paid Jerry Jeudy, went, traded for Elijah Moore. Like they did everything possible to try to make this work with weapons who like I actually think are pretty decent. Jerry Jeudy, maybe not. And it's just like they're bad. Like he just can't get him the ball. It's hard to watch.
Yeah, there was just like countless throws where they're just like 10 yards out of bounds, over Amari Cooper's head, over Jerry Jeudy's head. Like I said earlier, he's not even giving these guys a shot. Like I think if you're throwing a jump ball to Amari Cooper, like I feel pretty good about that scenario, but there's not much he can do if you're throwing the ball 10 yards out of bounds and not even remotely close.
No, I'm right with you. Real quick, I want to talk about the Raiders and the Chargers game, and then let's group together the rookie quarterbacks. The Raiders-Chargers game, the Raiders are bad. What else is new? We knew this in the offseason. We said this in the offseason. They're not good. Their defense isn't good. Antonio Pierce is clueless. I don't know if you saw him today on the sideline. That team is going to be a dumpster fire this season. Doesn't matter if Aiden O'Connell starts. Doesn't matter if Gardner Minshew is going to start. That team is just not very good.
Yeah, that game started off kind of close, but there wasn't. I did bet on the Chargers this game, but once we pretty much got to like the third quarter, I was like, all right, the Chargers have a lead. They're not going to lose this lead. Gardner Minshew there was a fumble that he had where he just like threw it backwards to nobody. That was pretty rough.
I don't know what happened.
But I think we saw like the new version of the Los Angeles Chargers. They ran the ball today more than they threw it, and they ended up getting a win. Obviously, we don't think this Raiders team is going to be very good, but I think that's a great way to start off your season. If you're the Chargers, go in there, take care of business. I think J.K. Dobbins obviously had a great game, 10 carries, 135 yards, and a touchdown. I don't know what else you want me to say, but I think the Chargers went in there, took care of business. I thought they looked pretty good. I think they're still going to need to figure out somebody to step up at receiver, but Ladd McConkey didn't have a horrible game, but nobody was really like, whatever. But if they can lean on the run game like that, then maybe they'll be all right. I just felt
clear identity change, played tough on defense, played tough on offense. They got into a full-out fist fight in the end zone. Josh Palmer got kicked out. Like, they're just they're a different football team. Like, they care. Yeah, they obviously just like have different leadership, different guys at the helm, and I think it makes all the difference in the world. And we saw it immediately week one. So let's group in the rookie quarterbacks here real quick. We obviously watched Jaden Daniels play against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We watched Bo Nix play against Seattle. Caleb Williams versus the Tennessee Titans. And then, am I missing anybody? That's everybody, right?
Caleb Williams, Bo Nix, Jaden Daniels, and
that's it.
That's everyone, yeah.
So, first off, I feel like probably the one that we want to talk about is Caleb Williams. I'm gonna cliff notes some of these, and if you want to add something in, go ahead. Buccaneers versus the Commanders. I don't think Jaden Daniels has it. I don't think it's his fault. I just don't think that team's very good. And Baker Mayfield absolutely cooked them.
He did. Yeah, he did. I mean, yeah, Jaden Daniels was pretty much just like run for my life, and like maybe if somebody's open, get them the football. Otherwise, it's just going to be a lot of what we saw today from them. Him running around. 16. He had 16 carries for 88 yards. Like you don't really want that out of your quarterback.
No,
I know Lamar had a very high run game on Thursday, but again, you don't want that from your quarterback every
and
game.
it's different.
But yeah, Baker also snapped.
He snapped. Next, I watched Bo Nix versus the Seahawks. He just threw some bad picks. That game was really weird to start off.
It's very weird.
And then Geno Smith with a 50-yard rushing touchdown early to round them back into form. But I just felt like that game was off. That's exactly what the Broncos want to do. They want to play in weird games that like throw these teams off. I don't think Seattle will look like that in any other game this season. But for whatever reason, the Broncos are just like a wonky ass football team.
Yeah, that game started off with what? Like an interception that Geno Smith threw right to a linebacker. There was a safety.
Another safety.
There was a punt. There was a field goal and then another safety. I was like, "What is it? What the hell is happening?" At one point, it was 5-3. But yeah, I think like the second half version of Seattle is more so who we'll end up seeing the rest of the season. I think their defense looked a lot better in the second half, and then Kenneth Walker's I think he's gonna have a monster season.
I think he's hurt.
I know it says questionable, so if it's not that big of a deal and he's good to go next week, I still think he's going to have a huge year.
That's fair. All right, now let's get to the one that I feel like we probably would like to talk about. The Bears won without an offensive touchdown. Crazy. Caleb Williams' debut, 93 yards, 0 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, a 55.7 QB rating. And then on the other side of things, Will Levis, 19 for 32, 126, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions with a 52.5% 5 QB rating. Man, this game was so bad. I thought the Titans had this thing completely locked up, and then I look up and and Will Levis was legitimately pissing this game away. That's the only way to describe it.
He really was. What was it? 17-3 going into half, and the Bears just couldn't do a thing on offense, and Will Levis handed them the football game. I mean, this game was fun as shit to watch, actually, even though both offenses were completely incompetent.
Yeah.
But I still thought it was great. The Will Levis picture of him on his knees, like cobra headed, crying. Yeah. It's crazy. This has been all over.
That'll live on forever.
He looked horrible. Caleb Williams looked even worse.
Yeah.
But again, I said this when we previewed the Bears. I said this coming into the season. Like, do I think Caleb Williams is going to be this bad every game? Absolutely not. But do I think that this Bears defense is going to be good every game? I think so. They completely took over this football game. Yeah, they won them this game. Obviously, Caleb's got to be better. But if you have that good of a defense that you can lean on, it makes your life a hell of a lot easier.
No, you're completely right. One thing that I do want to point out on this is DeAndre Swift looked really bad. 10 carries for 30 yards. He hurdled over somebody and had one flash. I'm not sold on DeAndre Swift. And I will listen. I'm not going to take the victory or lap yet, but Tony Pollard absolutely snapped today. I thought that he was going to be the guy going into Tennessee. It really looks that way. He definitely had majority of the workload today in the backfield. And I thought that he looked really, really good today. He looks like he's back to being himself.
Yeah, I completely agree. 16 carries, 82 yards, and a touchdown. I mean, that's a very solid day against a very good defense. But I just think the Bears offense as a whole, I wasn't impressed by Swift either, but I don't think anybody did anything well on the offensive side of the ball for the Bears today.
I think something I'm a little concerned about is maybe their offensive line. I thought their offensive line would look a little better than it did today, but I don't know. I think that's nitpicking. I just think it's probably like Caleb Williams, first game, jitters.
One thing I texted you about was I think there was plenty of times that Caleb Williams was roaming, or like getting out of the pocket, and I think he does a good job of keeping his eyes downfield. But I think there was a handful of times where he could have taken off and picked up 5, 6 yards here and there, and put his team like ahead of the sticks rather than down back at second and long, third and long. Um, I think that he should look to maybe run a little bit more than what he did today. But obviously, again, being super nitpicky, first game, things are a little different when you're playing the Titans versus when you're playing Washington State.
Yeah, no. So you would like for Caleb Williams to run a little bit more, maybe next time he plays.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else that you want to add in about this game? You were more focused on it than I was.
Yeah, I mean, I think we touched on everything. Like I said, this was a fun game. Defense took over. But yeah, Will Levis just looked absolutely terrible. The
He's
Titans
bad.
should have won this football game.
Easily. He handed the game away. He just doesn't look good.
Yeah, that was a really, really brutal game for him. It started off decent, but
no, it did. Next one that we have to address, I feel, is the Saints absolutely shit pumped the Panthers, and we might be wrong on the Panthers.
We might be really wrong on them. That was an absolute beatdown. 47-10.
It's an understatement, I feel like.
Definitely an understatement. What Bryce Young's first throw was an interception. And then his second throw in the second half was an interception. Not great.
Good. Yeah,
not good at all.
When Derek Carr looked at JC Horn and said, "I have 3 touchdowns on you," and pointed at him, I was like, "Yeah, I would have retired if that." So early front runner for MVP, Derek Carr.
Yeah, the one overreaction of the weekend is Derek Carr is an MVP candidate.
Yeah, Derek Carr is leading the MVP race.
He gets to play the Panthers twice a year and put up 47 points. That's just going to boost his resume.
So bad. All right, next game.
I mean, Kamara looked actually good. Now, who knows if that's going to be the case moving forward, or if the Panthers are just that horrific.
I think they're just bad, dude. I don't know. I'm not. I might just admit defeat on that one. That's bad. Hold on.
Yeah.
Sorry. That's just bad. Like I was expecting that game to be close, 47-10. I might have to just say I'm wrong. Like before they even play another game. Next game, I don't know if I didn't really watch any of this, but the Houston Texans, Indianapolis Colts. Anthony Richardson threw an absolute fucking piss missile off his back foot, slipped off his back foot, 70-yard bomb to Alec Pierce. He looked ridiculous in the highlights. I didn't watch the full game, so I can't really say too much. Did you watch this game heavily?
I did. So we have YouTube TV and the NFL tickets. So we went quad box on our main TV, and then we went Falcons, Steelers on the left, Bengals, Patriots on the right. And then one of the 4 games that we had was the Texans, Colts. And I was keeping a close eye on this one. I've got Anthony Richardson as my quarterback in both fantasy leagues. The Colts are right there, I think. Anthony Richardson made some really good throws. We saw the absolute bomb to Alec Pierce. But there was also probably a handful of other throws that he just completely missed wide receivers. He had AD Mitchell probably, I think it was 2 times along the sideline, wide open, that should have been touchdowns. There was some other throws, just crossing routes, like dig routes, that he just missed guys. But he showed a lot of really good things. I think if you're a Colts fan, you look at this game and you're like, wow, we might have an absolute monster here at quarterback if we can get him to sharpen up some of these misses. I mean, the Colts could have easily won this football game. If he hits some of these passes, I think they end up winning, but he didn't, and we saw how it played out. So I thought Joe Mixon looked phenomenal. I had him as one of my top performances for the week. 30 rushes, 159 yards, a touchdown, three catches for 19 yards. I mean, welcome to Houston, young man. That's a great game.
He's not young.
I know.
No, you're right. And it seemed like a great game. I had it up too. It just wasn't at the forefront of my mind. I was very much more concerned about this Bills Cardinals game, so it kind of took over my full attention.
Yeah, I loved watching this Colts Texans game. It does really feel like, I mean, like I said, if Anthony Richardson makes some of these throws, the Colts win this football game. And I think if we see that version of Anthony Richardson at some point this season, the Colts are going to be very scary.
No, they could. I think they could be very scary. I would have loved to see them steal this one, personally.
Yeah.
Like if they could have just found a way to steal this game, which it felt like it was in stealing range, I would feel way differently about like where they were at. I mean, it's not like I feel like any worse, but like if Anthony Richardson's healthy, this team's obviously going to be like a dread to play.
Yeah, he's absolutely a problem. Now I'm looking at at the box score: 9 of 19 for 212 yards, 2 touchdowns and an interception. I can't remember his interception, but
it sounds like he was a highlight merchant, because if you just went off highlights, you would be like, that guy had like the greatest game of all time.
100%. I mean, you see that first bomb, and then there was another one that he threw. I think it was to Alec Pierce again. It was another jump ball, put him in the zone, like the 15-yard line or something. Alec Pierce went up and snagged it.
I didn't know Alec
Pierce. Keep an eye on him for fantasy.
Like what?
Three for 125 and a touchdown.
I think he went to Cincinnati and like
he did. Yeah.
Do you have anything else you want to add about that Texans Colts game?
Nico Collins is still pretty good. Tank Dell's pretty good.
Fair.
Diggs is pretty good.
It was the Stephon.
Really,
I knew that they would get Stephon Diggs in the end zone today. It was just so obvious.
Yeah, that receiving core is going to cause a lot of issues for a lot of defenses. I mean, I think the Colts did about as good of a job as you could have against those 4 guys.
Which is interesting because of how bad their secondary is, but maybe they're sneaky this year.
I think their defensive line is going to be better than people think.
Okay.
But yeah, that's all I got for that one.
All right, listen, I'm going to talk about my mortal lock for this weekend was the Cardinals money line. I talked about it multiple times. Somebody tweeted at me. It was like, oh, like so easy, wasn't it? It's like, okay, like the Bills were fucking 6-point favorites at home, like, and fucking lost by fucking 6. First thing I want to say about this game, the referees in this game were absolutely awful. I hate to be like that, but like the refs for some reason, and it's in all of the games across the NFL, for some reason, like every first play of the game, they like threw a flag, like to make that about themselves. And it was so whack. And the Cardinals were dog walking the Bills. Like it wasn't even close. And then at half, you have a bad illegal touching downfield call, which didn't make any sense. Then you have a roughing the passer call on Josh Allen where Zaven Collins sacked him.
Yeah, that was
had
so
his
weird.
hand on his shoulder, didn't touch his face, didn't do anything, had his hand on his shoulder, sacked him while he still had the ball, and they called it a 15-yard foul, and then they scored right before half, and it was over at that point. You know what I mean? And then on the last play, on the last drive of the game, Michael Wilson with an all-time bad drop on the sideline. They would have had the ball on their 40 with like a minute 40 left. Next, they missed a pass interference call on Greg Dortch in the middle of the field. And then on the last play of the game, K1 I thought he threw it randomly. He fucking threw it up dead in the air and it hit Dortch right in his chest at the 1-yard line. And there were 2 safeties in his face with their back turned, not even looking at the ball. And that should have been a pass interference call. I just thought that they missed so many calls. The calls that they did make were extremely random. And then on the other side of things, I thought Kyler played extremely well today. Didn't have many mistakes. He obviously lost a fumble and a strip sack, but there were a lot of plays where he didn't get pass interference calls. There were drops, and then there will legitimately never, for the rest of the season, I don't know what happened today, Trey McBride having like 4 targets and Marvin Harrison having 2 targets will not happen for the rest of the season. I thought that was an extremely weird way to open up the season. I don't know what Drew Petzing was thinking. You absolutely, if you want to have a good game, listen, I thought their run game looked great at the beginning of the game. And when it started to go bad, I felt like not using your 2 guys who in my opinion are X factors. You went and took Marvin Harrison at 4 overall, and you have Trey McBride, who we saw what he could do last year, and not utilize those guys in any way, shape, or form. I felt like from a play calling perspective, not getting those guys involved was a major L for them today.
Yeah, a couple things. So that halftime, like the momentum completely flipped with like 6 minutes left in that second quarter. Maybe less.
A minute left in the second quarter, bro. It was literally like the end. It was literally like they marched down the field with like 1:40 left on the clock in the second quarter, and it changed the entire game.
Didn't they score? They scored though, and then got a stop, and then they got the ball back.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Either way, at the end of that second quarter is when that momentum completely flipped. That roughing the passer call was like insane. When they showed the replay of that and it popped up, I was like, wait, he sacked him. How is that roughing the passer? But yeah, that was really unfortunate for them. It really took the air out of their sails. Like they looked really good in those literally the first quarter and then 3 quarters of the second quarter. But having all those stack up against them, and then the Bills get the ball to start the third quarter, and then they went down and scored, was a tough spot. Believe it or not, I have this pulled up here. It says Trey McBride had 9 targets. So I don't know if they just were like not catchable balls or what was happening, but he did have 9 targets, if that's correct.
It didn't feel valuable at all.
Right. And then, I mean, poor Marvin, man. I mean, he only had 3 targets, and there was a couple replays that they showed where he was just like wide open running down the field. And now I don't know if there was pressure or what was happening, but I think
hate
Kyler
when they show.
see him.
I hate when they show stuff like that. Like what's and then it goes, they're like the rounds go on social media and shit. Like what did anybody want Kyler to do in that situation? The guys were in his lap. No, I know you're not saying that. I'm just saying like they made that's been such a big highlight all day today. That isn't the point. Okay, Marvin Harrison was open on that play. It is what it is. The real problem is that he hit Greg Dortch in the chest on the 1-yard line, and he got fucking mollywopped by 2 defenders that weren't even looking at the ball. Like that's the play. That's what nobody's talking about. Like everybody's talking about how Marvin Harrison was wide open. Kyler made a throw to win the game, and then it got a no call. I don't think that and when he threw, like I said, when he threw it, I was like, why the fuck did he just throw that ball? And then it hit Dortch in the numbers, and I was like, what the hell did he throw it that accurate?
Yeah.
But on the other side of things, I thought the Cardinals secondary looked tough. I think that they were sneaky, frisky at times, but that run defense was not good. And I thought that they could contain the run at some point, but the stupid little like Josh Allen like break off runs, like they couldn't stop. And it is what it is. But like on every other aspect of that defense, I thought that they didn't look bad. When you watch that game, and I don't know if you like, that felt like one of like the weirdest ways a team has ever put up 34 points in a game of football.
Agreed.
Ever.
Yeah.
Like ever.
Yeah.
It just didn't feel like it didn't feel like the Bills were clicking on offense really at all. But for some reason, they put up 34 points. It was like that game felt so weird.
It never felt like the Bills were actually winning that football game until it was there was no time like left on the clock.
Yeah.
Like James Cook didn't score, and you said this going into the game was the only advantage you thought that the Bills had was Josh Allen, and I mean that's pretty much what we saw.
Yeah.
It's hard to take into account sometimes how good of a runner he is, and we saw him rush for 2 touchdowns. He's a monster, but there's only so much you could do. I think they did enough. I think the Cardinals did enough to win this game. You gotta catch the football though.
It felt like
yeah,
they really left one on the table here.
I agree.
They should have won this game. It hurt. That hurt to watch happen. Like I said, I don't think that the utilization, what it felt like, what I took away from it is they were playing that game so conservatively and to not lose rather than to go out and win the game. And when you are in Buffalo on the ropes, K1's reading the defense well, he's throwing the ball well. Like, you have to let him do his thing at some point and air it out and let him use his legs. Instead, they were so committed to that counter with the center and the guard pulling every single time. The Bills had that sniffed out from the third quarter on. They made the adjustments and had that sniffed out. They needed to make an adjustment on offense, and not utilizing Marvin Harrison Jr. was a big red flag for me. Like I said, I just don't think it happens again for the rest of the season. Those guys are going to be utilized like a motherfucker for the rest of the time.
Yeah, and that's what I was just going to say is I wouldn't worry too much about that aspect of it, because I do think they're smart enough to realize, hey, Marvin's probably one of the best players we have out there. We got to figure out a way to get him the football, and 3 targets is unacceptable. Now, if the Bills were game planning, hey, maybe let's make Greg Dortch or Michael Wilson or somebody else beat us, props to them. But I don't know if you're necessarily game planning to take away a rookie in the first game of the season, but I could be wrong.
You're right. All right. Well, listen, I don't have to talk about the Cardinals all night because I've been yelling about it all day. It was just bullshit.
It's a tough one. That was a game that they could have won.
Yeah, definitely. Next game needs to automatically be addressed. Listen, for every Panthers, I have a Cincinnati Bengals. I don't think the Bengals are good. I've said this forever, said it all off season. They went and lost to, on paper, like everybody thinks, is the worst team in football. They were 9.5-point favorites, and they lost outright to the New England Patriots during an orange out.
Yeah,
people aren't talking about
people
it.
Forget. People forget
during an orange out.
For this.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, and got the shit kicked out of them.
Yeah, they couldn't stop the run to save their lives. Ramondre Stevenson, 120 yards, a touchdown, and had some pretty big runs. Honestly, like the one to seal it at the end of the game. The Patriots did what they had to do. I mean, the Bengals look fucking horrible. And that's my overreaction for the week is they're a bottom 5 team in the NFL.
I don't think
they even had Jamar Chase.
I don't think it's an overreaction by any stretch of the imagination. I picked them to miss the playoffs during our preview. And then they go out and lose to the Patriots. I mean, this is a must-win game for them. To start the week, Jamar Chase had food poisoning. Apparently, he's been bitching about his contract. T. Higgins tweaks his hamstring, just doesn't play. And then after the game, Jamar Chase media availability, he's a complete diva. He's turned into one of the most unlikable dudes in the entire NFL.
What did he say? I didn't see that.
Like just that he got 6 targets and he was bitching about it because about the coach. I just think that, like I said, one, I think that the defense has gotten worse year over year over year. We saw it today. The Patriots just dominated them from running perspective. And then when you take away T. Higgins and Jamar Chase from this offense, this is like the 2020 Bengals when they won 4 games. I know that having those guys is helpful, but I don't know. I don't love where the Bengals are at right now. I think that they are a weird team. You can tell that they didn't practice much this offseason together. It felt very disjointed. And I just don't know if they have the time to go through growing pains over the first month of the season when you're playing games, when you have a warm-up game. Like, people sit around and they're like, you know what? think about all the elimination pools this weekend. Who people picked the Bengals to beat the
Yeah.
Patriots. Like, think about all that. Like, they went and lost outright as a 9-point favorite to the Patriots. Completely unacceptable. And I just feel like that. Yeah, I don't think that's an overreaction at all. I think that the Bengals are going to have a long year.
Was this equivalent to Notre Dame losing to Northern Illinois?
No.
It's worse.
It's worse. No, it's not worse. It's just bad. But no,
it's losing to
worse. Losing to Northern. I did have Northern Illinois. I had a money line this weekend, by the way.
What was that?
Like plus 2,100.
Hell yeah.
But regardless, I had a big college weekend, but it doesn't matter.
So did I. My college weekend was so much better. But I did want to say one other thing about this Bengals game. They had 3 fumbles, and they lost all 3, and I'm pretty sure they only lost 2 fumbles last year. So they definitely had issues taking care of the football. And that's exactly how you let a team that's 10 points worse than you beat you outright.
Not good.
The one Bengals fan in my life is in shambles.
What did he say?
He said I texted him at one point and was like, "Do you have any Did you put any holes in your walls yet?" And he's like, "I sold my apartment and I'm living out on the street where I belong."
Yeah.
Fair. Made multiple threats to himself, but he's not serious about it. But in a joking manner. So he's down terribly.
Yeah. I just think that until this Jamar Chase situation gets figured out, it's obviously a big black cloud over the locker room. It's just weird. And then T. Higgins is starting to get to the point now where it's like, what could be with him?
Pisses me off.
Like what? Like you're so talented and you're so good when you play, but if you're not going to be available, like you're going to have just like, I don't know how much respect you really deserve. Next, the Miami Dolphins versus Jacksonville Jaguars. Another game where it felt like the Jaguars pissed it away, which is what we didn't want to see to start the year. We thought that they could avoid this, and they're right back to doing it. Big thing to talk about before we get into the game is Tyreek Hill literally got detained before the game entering the stadium.
And then he went off.
What dickheads? First off, those guys are like how much of a power trip do you have to really be on to be working at Hard Rock Stadium and seeing Tyreek Hill, your best player,
your star player,
come in and detain him? Like, who gives a honestly, I'm not saying that he's above the law and he's allowed to do whatever he wants, but over speeding, having him sprawled out on all fours with his hands behind his back and detained before a game. I mean, how that guy should get fired.
They did put him on administrative. One of the guys got put on administrative leave.
I mean, you're a tool. You're a tool if you do something like that. Read the room.
That was rough.
You cuff Calais Campbell and Tyreek Hill as they're entering the stadium. Like, come on.
Yeah,
that is ridiculous.
Yeah, that's just how you get people to hate you,
for sure. Outside of that, T-Law was cooking in the first half. He was dicing up. He looked really good, and then their offense just fell off a cliff in the second half and towards the end of the game. And then they allowed the Dolphins to come back into this and obviously win on a game-winning field goal. One thing that I wanted to ask you about. Obviously, I want you to tell me about the game, but something that was the craziest shit was, why did Tank Bigsby have 73 rushing yards and is Travis Etienne washed?
Yeah, I don't know. I was kind of wondering that too. There was like a couple plays where I saw like decent runs happen, and I was like, was that Etienne? And then they show it, and it was Bigsby, and I was like, well, that's really weird. I mean, shout out to him. He had a good game. I don't know if that's going to be the case moving forward, but
something to monitor
way better than ETN today.
Something to monitor for sure. I thought that was like, listen, I think ETN's got to be the guy. Like, I'm assuming, but like, that was weird. Like, I don't know why that was the case. I'm a year late on him because I thought he was going to be a factor in fantasy last year. Like, I had him in every fantasy league, and I was like, he's going to be good. And of course, I'm a year fucking early on it.
I had him too. But what did you think about Brian Thomas? I thought he had a pretty good rookie debut. I mean, only
Yeah,
4 catches for 48 yards, but like
yeah, I
that
think he's
Jaguars offense got shut down in the second half.
Yeah, I think he could have had another touchdown on a deep shot where it was a PI. I thought he probably could have came down with it. He didn't. I think he's fine. I would like to see more out of their receiving core as a whole in general. I want to see more out of Christian Kirk. I want to see more out of Gabe Davis. I want to see more out of Brian Thomas Jr. I want to see more out of T-Law. That's really all there is to it. But yeah, I thought T-Law was dealing to start the game, and then, bro, I don't think Press Taylor should call plays for this team. He just doesn't have the juice. So why allow him to do it? I think at times he like does it, but like, I don't know. I just think that there clearly needs right now. You piss a game away that you clearly should have won on a last second field goal to Jason Sanders, a long one. It just sucks.
Yeah. I mean, if you can't put together a full game of play calling, then it might be time for you to give it up, especially when, I mean, you're leading at halftime, and yeah, the Dolphins have an explosive offense, but I mean, Trevor Lawrence had what, 27 passing yards in the second half.
Yeah.
Like, what's going on? It's their defense. They've Jalen Ramsey. Yeah, he's really good, but like, there's it's inexcusable that Trevor Lawrence had 27 passing yards in the second half.
Yeah, they need to fix that ASAP.
Yeah. But on the flip side, though, like Waddle and Tyreek Hill looked phenomenal. Achane looked really good.
Yeah.
I mean, is he just going to have like another insane year?
I don't know. I have no idea. I think that he needs to stay healthy. Listen, like the Dolphins, like are just one of those teams that I'm just like so skeptical of because all those guys, like Waddle gets hurt, then he comes back into the game, then he gets hurt again and gets evaluated for a concussion, and then he has like a 65-yard catch. Like they're a weird team, and they're like have weird players, even though they're all talented and good. They just scare me, I think, is the best way to describe it, probably.
Yeah, I think that's very fair. But I mean, hey, this was a game that they probably shouldn't have even won, but the Jaguars handed it over to them. So props to them. 52-yard game-winning field goal.
Giants, Vikings, whatever. Maybe I'm a little wrong on the Giants. I didn't think they'd be that bad, but I mean, Daniel Jones just doesn't have it, I guess. And next, what did I say? Red flag on the Falcons until they prove it. They went and lost the fucking Steelers outright. Bad loss. Inexcusable loss. The Falcons aren't. They have a stench on this team. Like, I don't know what it is.
It's crazy. I had this game on too, and this was just another stereotypical Pittsburgh Steelers. We're not going to score any touchdowns. We're going to have field goals all game. We're going to hang around. Our defense is going to make a huge play in the fourth quarter, and we're going to win the game. And that's pretty much what happened. It's insane. It's insane how it keeps happening. It infuriates me.
It's so stupid. But I don't have much to say about this game. I don't really care about it. I think both these teams aren't going to be very good nor a threat. And we watched it play out. I mean, the Falcons, I can't believe you guys lost this game. Colton, you suck. And then
I do want to say Bijan, that guy is probably going to finish with like the most points in fantasy this year. It felt like every time I look over at that game, they're either handing him the football or throwing it to him, which is good because he's probably their best player.
Yeah, he probably is. And then let's just go into the last game. Something we talk about. You didn't believe in your guys. Embarrassing on your part.
I bet on them though.
I knew that they were. Yeah, but you didn't pick it. Don't come on on this and say I bet on them. And then the pick that you gave out on Wednesday was the Packers. Like, don't play both sides. Don't play both sides. That's something that we can't do. I went and picked your team. I knew that they would go and win. First thing I want to talk about, Jalen Carter is going to be extremely unlikable if he does shit like that in the NFL. I think that he's really talented, but to like bend to fucking hurt Jordan Love on a play that doesn't matter, I felt like was a little unnecessary. Don't say it wasn't on purpose.
I was just about to say probably not necessary, dude. Relax.
Okay, I literally saw it coming off your tongue. I thought you were gonna be like, "Well, you didn't try it." Like,
No,
go ahead.
definitely probably wasn't necessary. However, we can't have him being like the guy that gets kicked out of football games for doing stupid shit like that. We already saw it happen with what wasn't it like Derek Barnett
Yeah,
he was a defensive end for them, and it just felt like he was just an absolute fucking head case and couldn't like lock in when he needed to. Guy would have been a good player otherwise, but just was committing so many stupid penalties. I don't think that that's the trajectory that Jalen Carter is going to go on, but
I hope not. That
just
pissed
don't
me
want to
off.
see anything like that moving forward.
No, and it's like on a play like a Hail Mary at the end of the game, like where it was like completely unnecessary to like rip him up like that. I don't know. I just thought that was dirty. Luckily, we don't lose Jordan Love for the entire season because it could have been way worse than what it was. Um,
Yeah,
outside of that, the Saquon's good. We knew
yeah,
that.
hell of a
Saquon might,
hell of a hell of a debut.
yeah,
3
three touch.
touchdowns, first Eagles since To.
Yeah, since To to do that, that's awesome. Good for him. Uh, my takeaway from that is Saquon might not be able to walk after this season because they are literally going to feed him into the dirt.
That's what they
Which
paid him for.
Um, and on the other side of things, I thought Jalen Hurts came out and struggled and then settled in a little bit.
Yeah,
But I mean, he's like not to do this, but I mean, you have AJ Brown, Devonta Smith, and Saquon Barkley. Um, those guys are playmakers, and we watched AJ Brown make a absolutely ridiculous play. I didn't even know he was that fast.
he was moving.
The play that he broke off. Saquon obviously did his thing. Devonta Smith did his thing. So I obviously think that that's going to be always a plus side for Jalen Hurts. That yes, you're able to struggle throwing the ball or whatever, but it doesn't matter because you're going to be able to have these big time playmakers be able to make up for it. One thing that stuck out with me of Jalen Hurts is can he not run anymore? Like I'm
Yeah,
just
I don't know.
confused.
Like there
He looks
was
slow. He doesn't look comfortable when he runs. Like I don't know what's up with him. I thought that he was more of a threat with his legs, but he doesn't look like
it
a
was
threat on his legs at all.
it was weird because there was one play where it was like 2nd and 8 and he ended up running and like running through a couple guys and getting a first down. And then there's other plays where like he clearly has like a couple yards that he could go and grab and just like kind of like lays down. So I don't understand. Maybe he's just like picking his spots, but I mean, I think it's a good sign that he was willing to put his shoulder down and kind of run over a couple guys when he needed to. Um, but I mean, I think you were spot on as far as like him settling in. That first interception was ugly, but once he started to settle in, I mean, the guy didn't play in any preseason. Not an excuse. I wanted him to play in preseason for this reason
Yeah,
exactly.
but he didn't throw
Exactly.
any picks in camp.
I know he threw one. He threw one pick. Um, but yeah, I think once he settled in, looked a lot better. You could clearly tell that he was more comfortable with motion um, than on the plays that there wasn't. He was much more successful on all their plays with motion versus when there wasn't. But yeah, I felt pretty good about this first game. I'll absolutely take it. This was a game hand up. I thought they would lose, but phenomenal way to start the season. I think the defense. I think Quinyon Mitchell's going to be a dog. But I think Zach Bond also put up a hell of a game. Guy had like 15 tackles and was all over the field.
Yeah, I think that I mean, we knew this going into the game. Quinyon Mitchell did make one really great play. The rest of the games, the rest of the time, he was fine. I think that obviously, like the weak point is this defense. I thought their run defense looked really good against Josh Jacobs. I don't know if he's washed, but then he started kind of opening up at the end. And their second string running back actually had some decent runs as well. And then
I can't remember his name.
Yeah, I can't. It wasn't Marshawn Lloyd. It was somebody different.
Emmanuel Wilson.
But I just think, I mean, obviously their secondary is just, they have weak secondary. That's really all there is to it. It's not, there's no like formula. There's nothing really to like describe it as other than like that just isn't a good unit for the football team.
Yeah, they got to tighten that up and limit big plays. There was a couple the big plays that Jaden Reed was wide open like a couple times, and you can't have that. However, though, like if you told me we were going to give up 29 points to the Packers, I would probably have said, okay, I would expect that.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I think that like on the flip side of things, to like defend it is like, the defense might not be that good, but like the Eagles obviously have the firepower to be able to keep up with it if that happens.
Yeah, clearly you're putting. I mean, I think the Packers are going to be an explosive offense the rest of the season. I mean, obviously, I think not Drake. I think Jordan Love is going to be out for a little while, but they still have playmakers all over that field. But yeah, seeing the offense go out there, put up 34, and the defense did get a stop. Had a couple big plays when they needed it, like the Reed Blankenship interception was huge. That obviously helped, but they got stops here and there at the end of the game when they needed to.
Definitely. All right, let's do the Monday night game and let's get off. So tomorrow night, Monday night, New York Jets at San Francisco 49ers. Right now the line sits at +3.5. Over under at 43.5. This game is going to be great. I think. I hope so.
Yeah,
why not?
I hope so. It should be on paper.
Aaron Rodgers versus Brock Purdy. You know that the San Francisco 49ers actually could have drafted Aaron Rodgers.
We're going to hear about that probably 12 times tomorrow.
But I think this is a good game. We watched like the Bengals. I'm not comparing the 49ers to the Bengals at all because I think that they're way more talented. But the 49ers are still dealing with injury. They dealt with a whole offseason of just weird contract disputes, drama, all of the nine, everything other than focusing on football. On the contrary, I think the Jets have been quite the opposite. They know that they fucked up last year. They knew that Super Bowl aspirations and everything like that were complete bullshit, got completely humbled, and they were locked in all summer, ready to go, even though Rodgers missed mandatory minicamp. But I think when it mattered, I think those guys were locked in, and I think that they come out tomorrow and win this game. I feel like that the Jets need this to start the season for morale.
Yeah, I mean, if we can, I want to just get Aaron Rodgers through the first game before like we go crazy. But I'm right there with you. I think it would be massive for them if they come out here and win this first game. They've had way less distractions. Besides the Rodgers thing, which realistically, I would rather deal with that than dealing with my star wide receiver and my star left tackle and injury issues in the preseason. Than Aaron Rodgers missing a mandatory minicamp. But that's just me. I did see a tweet, today or yesterday about how Ayuk they were pretty much like, the day that he signed his deal, they were pretty much like, they as in the Niners were like, you either sign this deal or we're trading you to Pittsburgh. And he signed the deal, obviously. So I think that just goes to show, just how badly he doesn't want to go to Pittsburgh, which was kind of like the overarching, oh, he wants to go to Pittsburgh. Oh, he's boys with Tomlin, like this, that. It made no sense for him to do that. He's playing on a championship caliber team. But yeah, I do think the Jets go out there and win as well. We're both high on this Jets team. So, and I think that they've had way less distractions this offseason than the Niners.
Yeah, I think that's what matters right now at this point is like which team.
Yeah, we don't know what these teams are, who these teams are yet.
No, but like what we do know is like what happened this offseason and who's practiced, who hasn't practiced. I feel like that the Jets have gotten more game reps at this point, or like practice together, and they're we talked about the Super Bowl.
Those brothers are starving.
Yeah, they're hungry. They're ready to go. And like you said, like it's time. They need this game. I think, like, remember when I said like the Eagles, it was a must-win game for the Eagles? This is a must-win game for the Jets. Week 1, get the stink out of the locker room. Aaron Rodgers is back. Let's lock in. Let's beat the guys who were in the Super Bowl last year, and let's make a statement on the road to start the year week 1. Like, let's do it.
Yeah, I completely agree. This game's going to be a lot of fun to watch, and I do want to actually figure out like what the over under is on how many times those guys bring up, oh, Aaron Rodgers is from California. He could have been drafted by the Niners. He's coming home. How many jokes are we going to see about how, oh, well, Aaron Rodgers made it more than one drive this year. Congrats. Like, we're going to get all of those. We're going to get all those jokes, all of those comments.
Do you have any bets? One bet that I do have, I do just have the New York Jets money line just flat. That's all I have for this game. New York Jets money line. I'll probably throw in a little parlay, but that's it.
Yeah, I'll probably do some type of same game parlay as well. But I think just to start, I need to look and see what Breece Hall's rushing total is and what Garrett Wilson's reception is, because I think Garrett Wilson's going to get fed tomorrow.
Yeah, I agree. I completely agree.
Let me see here. I'm pulling it up right now.
One last thing too before you give that. Thoughts on Tom Brady on the call today, because I felt like everybody wanted to talk about that.
I loved it.
He was stuttering.
I still thought he was pretty good.
No, he was. I'm just kidding. No, he was great, but he did stutter a little bit. But it's good to see Brady in the booth.
Did you listen to Colt McCoy on the Nebraska-Colorado call?
He was bad, dude.
Dude, I didn't realize until halftime that it was Colt McCoy.
Yeah.
And I was shitting on him to like in the room. I was like, dude, this guy sounds like he should be calling a high school football game. And
then sounded really bad.
They panned to the booth and I'm like, that's Colt McCoy. Yeah. Oh my gosh. I looked it up and he was getting flamed on Twitter.
Oh yeah. He sounded
but yeah, I thought he did. He sounded so bored and uninterested.
Colorado's dumb shit.
Dude, their O-line's just terrible. They can't block a soul.
There's so much that goes into that, but we don't have to get into it now because it's 1 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, but I for the most part, I thought Tom Brady was good. I was excited to hear him on the call. I just wish it would have been a better game between those two teams, but yeah, I thought it was good for his debut. I know that he's Fox's golden child now, basically. They've been waiting to get him in the booth for 3 years.
No, definitely. All right, brother. I'll post this.
Let me see here. Garrett Wilson receptions is 5.5. Slam it.
Yeah, that's a good one. He'll probably get 8.
I hope so. All right.
Peace.
It's been real.
White clouds blowing out.